You're listening to Start Scale Exit Repeat, Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed, and today we're talking about AI's Great Divide, the haves and have-nots. And if you're listening to this on podcast or on replay, we do this show every Friday, 2 o'clock Eastern, with my co-host, Michelle Van Tilburg, our editor, Mimi, and we've got Kyle on stage as well. Michelle, what do you think about this haves and have-nots of the AI world?
I know I was looking at the title and thinking about it as we were having our pre-show meeting. And I think I was coming at it at a different angle than maybe you were, Colin. So I think this should be a good, interesting conversation. And we're going to get our fans down here, our club members up on the stage here shortly, because I think this one really, we need the wisdom of the community here. We need the wisdom of the club to really talk through what is the great divide, the haves and the have nots. For me, that was even going down to what kind of a tool you need and what kind of task you were trying to do. And I think Colin was thinking more about like, why don't you tell us what you were thinking, Colin?
Yeah, I'm working on an article for a big magazine, and it is titled The AI Haves and Have Nots. And I start the article off with talking about the early days of the internet in the 90s, the web. We'll call it the web because if you're really a truist, you'd know the internet started in the before the 90s, actually 80s. And but if you look at the World Wide Web, it started in 1993 and there was a lot of coming together at that point. A number of companies like ours started this internet access company in Toronto, and internet was very expensive. So what we would do is we would partner with other internet providers in the city to exchange traffic. And it was a very interesting concept because we had this belief, almost like Star Trek, Michelle and Mimi, like this belief that everything should be free and everyone should have access to everything, and there shouldn't be this sort of those who have high speed internet, those who don't, or those at the time dial up internet, and those who don't, and everybody should be able to access it. And it was a very special time in history in the early 90s, but it seemed to go away when the big companies came in, and we saw that in 2023 when OpenAI launched ChatGPT 3.5. We saw I think we all like for a moment hesitated and thought, "Oh, is this the opportunity, the great equalizer for people from all any country in the world, from any background, with any education, you can use your thought and creativity and create and build value for products and services using AI." And it seemed very accessible. But then, as things always seem to roll out, OpenAI decided to make it a for profit company. Microsoft invested in the company, and then you saw companies like Grok and Claude AI, and we're beginning to see the rise of paid AIs. So right now, I spend probably about $1,000 a month just on paid AIs. I'm connected to about 10 different, maybe 20 different little AI platforms and systems. And I'm a big believer in this. And in the book, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, I talk about living in the future. And right now, there could never be a better time, never be a better ROI than investing in AIs, VO3 and Gemini and obviously the paid GPT, Chat GPT, and getting access to so much more. But there are, to my surprise, there are so many entrepreneurs, there's so many founders, there's so many small businesses who just they aren't even paying the $20 a month for Chat GPT. And it made me think that maybe the great equalizer AI may be the great de-equalizer because it's going to be a time where those who can afford to pay the money for AIs that can help them do whatever they want to do, create whatever they want to create, and we've created amazing things here at Startup Club using AIs. But if you don't have the funding or you don't have the money, you got to pay rent, you got to feed yourself. You might say, I'm not going to pay $200 for a Gemini Pro membership.
But
I'm just going to go for, I'll just go for the basic version or the free version. And will you be left behind, Michelle?
yeah, I hear what you're saying, but what are we seeing in the market today? I feel like what we're seeing is an extremely fast evolution of AI. I've never seen a tool evolve so fast. Okay. Never. So things we had to quote pay a lot for on AI not that long ago are already becoming free.
Yeah,
I,
but that's the cycle. So here's the problem we're getting into with this one is that I understand where you're coming from. Like, what's $200 a month today is going to be free a year from now or 2 years from now. But the paradigm shift will already have occurred. And for entrepreneurs, for startup founders, this is our moment. Like, there's never been a better time in history for an entrepreneur to launch a business. Never. And
no, but I think they are going to be have more and more capabilities for practically free or close to free is my point. Okay, I that's what I'm seeing. I don't know that people are going to
yeah,
be
why do you think it's what's that company is worth $3 trillion, the biggest company in the world? The chip
open
company.
AI.
No, the chip company,
Oh, Nvidia.
Nvidia. So you think that they're just gonna everything's gonna be free? No. What's gonna happen
No, I
is
no, you still have to have computers and processing, and obviously you have to pay for it, and that's where ads come in, and the way perplexity is
okay.
going. That's what I see.
No, and you've got a case there, but my point is, and that might be okay for the rest of for those out there who are just using the internet and they've got a job and they're working whatever. But what I'm talking
Right.
about here is if you're a founder, if you're a startup founder, if you're an entrepreneur and you want an edge, you want an advantage, you have to embrace AI. And in order to really embrace AI, you have to start paying for it. And that is creating a divide between those who have the finances to do so versus who don't. And it's obviously I'm a little bit,
You know what I see? I see
but
it a little bit differently here.
okay, go ahead.
I can see that in highly specialized ways. Okay. But do you need like how many people like need that capability? I think first we have to think about what it is we're trying to achieve and what it is we need. Like I think you could way oversubscribe. I'm personally trying not to oversubscribe. Okay. But I'm finding massive amount of free stuff to do what I need to do. Now, I think where people are making money right now is building very specialized applications. Again, this is not anything new. We know, right, Colin, as running e-commerce companies, it's 3PL and the marketing tech stack is who make all the money in these e-commerce inventory plays, it seems like. So I think where it's at, and I could see people eating up their budget. But again, I think of it as different. It's not like need raw tools. I don't think they need to, if you're going to pay for something, maybe you know what the expertise is. Like we talk a lot about ads, and then you buy a tool that is extremely highly specialized that you wouldn't have the skill set to develop. I just see this progressing a little bit differently.
Yeah, and we have Tara on stage here. And if you're in the audience and you want to jump on stage, it's great. We're doing Friday afternoon here, Clubhouse, Startup Club. We're just talking about AI haves and have-nots. Is money going to become an issue? And is AI really the great equalizer, or will it actually help those who have money accelerate their wealth more? I do think there's a bigger conversation here about understanding how to use AI to position yourself to launch your startup and to accelerate your growth. We're talking about this issue today. It's an open mic conversation. If you're in the audience, yeah, please feel free to jump on stage. And nice to see we have a number of regulars back in the audience there as well. I saw Renee and Noel and others coming in. So we'd be happy to have you on stage. Tara, what are your thoughts on this issue? Are we in a time where AI is going to be the great equalizer, or is this going to be a time when people who have money will use the AI and others will be left behind?
I think it can be a bit of both. So I, like you, was really excited when ChatGPT first came out. it made it accessible to find the information that I wanted without having it packaged. And it's interesting. So, the landscape of continuous education and resources for startups, they're built for the needs of the majority, or the perceived needs of the majority there. So I would be paying prices to get less value out of it than people who had other career paths with their startup or whatever was trending at the moment. So I was very excited with the personalization there. But then, and then ChatGPT Plus came out, it was $20 a month, which I felt was more than fair for what it was delivering, though I know that there are plenty of people out there who that's already too much for. And then they came out with Pro, which I feel is in line with what you were saying. First, the accessible versions come out, and then they could come out with something that's $1,000 a month. And then if we see as the people who already had money are able to make even more, we see impact on that, on other entrepreneurs and founders beyond just whether they can afford ChatGPT and other AIs. So, one, there are a lot of layoffs. So, a lot of people who had launched something on the side or started something, and then now they have to worry about how to make money. And also, the VC landscape, people are having a hard time raising $20,000 versus it used to be you fundraise and then you can get multiple million. That was a long time ago, but at least several 100,000, and then not have to worry about all this little stuff. And now, actually, yeah, I'm considering writing a blog inspired by a conversation that I had earlier today with a friend who has very specialized skills and a startup idea that he's thought through based on a PhD and a former master's before that. And for to be able to raise $20,000 to be able to start making progress on that equipment and things like that, he's fallen into considering launching another startup first or doing consulting work, very specialized, which any type of entrepreneurship like that can take 5 years to figure out all the stuff besides the idea, the pricing model, the networking. And I was thinking back to 2023 when I had gotten my dream job working with a startup, but they didn't have enough hours for me to be in San Francisco full time, which was where I needed to be. So I ended up looking for other consulting work and trying to do multiple clients at a time, which is a whole other business model. So now we're at a point of, if you want to be a founder, you have to figure out, you got to be a founder of something else first, which, and then to make that work, it's just this endless kind of loop. And then the AI makes it easier for people to not need to hire as many people for jobs where you don't need to be an entrepreneur so that you can be an entrepreneur with your other thing. And they also make it easy for the company to just amass massive amounts of wealth. And the sentiments that I see in people, whether it's founders, VCs, regular people, the amount of fear and uncertainty, wanting to hold out. I don't like, I'd be curious why you feel it's the best time to launch a startup right now, because I feel like in theory it's a great time of innovation with AI, but in terms of getting any kind of support, whether it's funding or even just conversations, founders helping each other, those environments have just gotten so much more extractive now compared to before, which I feel like it may be more important than ever to stretch our savings instead of making bets. And I feel very conflicted there. Yeah, I was curious about anyone's
Yeah, I
thoughts.
like the way you started your comments too, and you said could be both. It's a little bit of it really is a something you have to invest in, but at the same time, I think that the reason why I've said that it's never been a better time to launch a startup is we're in a transformational time. We see paradigm shifts, technological shifts come every 10 years, whatever it is. We see them actually constantly. There are dozens a year happening, and then small ones, big ones. But we've never seen one as big as this in our lifetime. And it really is a great, the dominoes are up in the air, and it's a great change that's going to occur in every sector of society. And big companies tend to fear change. Enter the entrepreneur. This is the opportunity for the entrepreneur to come in. I actually think it does cost a lot, and I spend a lot on AIs, and I would encourage any entrepreneur to invest as much as they can. I try to encourage my kids, and I even pay for their AI subscriptions, at least that $20 a month for the Chat GPT, what you talked about. But you could not have done what you can do today, even 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. As an entrepreneur, we're working now on stuff that I it would have cost $100,000 a year ago to do that we do for a few hours of work, not even probably an hour of work using with AI engines to create commercials for paw.com or different number of our companies. And that what that does is it gives entrepreneurs an edge over the big companies. So the big companies right now, they have the budgets. They can do the commercials. They can develop the studies. They've got an edge, but that edge has disappeared now. So that's a great equalizer, but just the cost to get in on the game, the cost to ante up is becoming more and more because we I didn't see a $200 a month membership, Tara, when we first ChatGPT, it was $20 a month, and then you have the pro version, and then Gemini. Then Gemini has got a pro version, and then you've got Rabbit, which I use Rabbit as well, and I've used a number of other AIs and whatnot. And I'm like, they keep upping and upping and upping the fees, and they're phenomenal what they can do. But if you're not paying that $1,000 a month or whatever it is for all the different AI engines, you're not giving yourself that advantage. But if you do pay, even if it's two, three, or $400 a month, whatever it is, to get you that to give you that advantage, that's going to help you compete with big companies. I know, Mohammed, you've been pretty vocal here in the side chat, so we want to hear from you as well, Mohammed.
Yes, hello everyone. Happy Friday, and thanks for the opportunity to speak. Interesting topic. I guess it's obvious that it's very controversial, and I've been learning about AI and forming my own opinion about it. I personally, I am a huge proponent of cutting edge technology and the latest innovations in tech and whatnot. But the way AI is being rolled out and shoved down our throats, that for me is a cause of alarm. I'm someone who's frequently in and out of jobs for political reasons. And so I have to rely on the gig economy to supplement my income when I don't have any money coming in. And one consistent thing I've noticed across the board is that, people confuse those AI apps for the rule of law. Anything the app says is like gospel. You can't even argue with the app. If the app makes a mistake, if you're lucky, maybe a human will correct that mistake. But the general rule of thumb is you follow the app above all else, above your common sense. And for me, this is a very dangerous turn in the evolution of this community of society is when you're not allowed to use your brain, that's when you start to degenerate and de-evolute into something dumber and dumber. And this collective wisdom and collective knowledge is something that societies achieve over generations. They built upon the knowledge of their predecessors, and there's no substitute for having the knowledge instead of asking someone. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against those platforms, ChatGPT, Gemini, and whatnot. I use them every now and then, and maybe one day I'll pay for the pro version if I find it useful for one thing or another, but I'm not going to rely on it or trust it blindly. And I also feel like there is very little regulation, government regulation, when it comes to AI. Even the internet regulation is way behind, and ever since the internet was born, the government regulation seems to be lagging behind, which opens the door for the dark web, hacking, scams, and all kinds of terrible things. And so AI is much less regulated. It's a very vague industry. There are no rules. There are no anything goes, and that's very dangerous. And when people's lives depend on it, that becomes devastating. So I'm not happy with the way AI is being rolled out. I feel like it's being shoved down our throats intentionally. Companies are investing in systems that don't necessarily work, and they're just forcing their way for everybody else. So I don't see how that could be useful. It opens the door for more fascism, for more unaccountability when it comes to companies ripping off their employees and their gig workers from their hard-earned pay. There's no any sort of monitoring or anything. I find myself making less than minimum wage when I work for those apps, provided I'm using my own vehicle and paying for my own gas. It's really pathetic. But anyways,
No, I hear you. I hear you on that. And maybe that's why AI is important because using AI and using your creativity and harnessing your entrepreneurial nature, you can come up with ideas that can actually make you money and help you compete against bigger companies. And I wonder if in society they do all these incentives and everything, but if they just gave entrepreneurs the opportunity to use AI to its fullest extent and unleash the creativity and harness the energy and ideas from entrepreneurs, if that could really propel an economy forward. Yeah, it's very interesting. Michelle, I do want to jump down to shadows next, and I know Renee, you're coming up, but before we jump down to shadows, Michelle, any thoughts before we go?
Yeah, I think it's a great conversation talking about it here at the higher level. I just think, like you said, and everybody agrees, we're a lot more productive. But I do really think people should really think about where they can get the most benefit, especially in your businesses. That's something I think what we're doing was really geared a lot towards marketing. But I do really do believe there's going to be a time very soon where we're going to be paying for marketing stack again to try to get past our own knowledge. I don't know about you, Colin, but I don't think I can write like enough AI queries or develop agents to effectively manage, for example, our meta campaigns.
Let's get there. All right, we got shadows, and then Renee, we're going to jump over to you, and then Tara. I see her flashing there, so we'll jump back up to you, Tara. Shadows, go ahead. Yeah, and how do you spell that? MAGAI. It sounds. Yeah, got it. Okay, yeah. All right, sounds good. Then Renee, appreciate that little tip. I think that's useful. You have to navigate through all these AIs and paid memberships, and maybe it depends on where you're specializing, whether you're in marketing. I know we use Hailu, HAILUO. Really bad spellings. I know it's a Chinese company, I think, but that does some pretty low cost video generation work for us. I know VO3 is great, but they give you 2 videos or 3 videos, and then on the pro membership, it's 5 videos a day. That's pretty limited, but there are alternatives out there, and I think that's maybe where the marketplace will come in and say, you know what, we've got an alternative here at half the price, and you'll use it, and maybe it's not as good as the one that's the full price, but it does the job, and that's where maybe a marketplace is going to solve this answer. All right, Renee, over to you.
Hi, I just want to address points made by Michelle, Tara, Mohammed. I guess starting Mohammed, it makes me sad for all three of the comments that all three of you have been making different comments because what makes me sad is Just like the internet in the early 90s wasn't understood by Bill Gates, Mike Copeland, and Corral, they saw it as an information highway when it really was a communication medium. That's why Gates missed the boat on Facebook, Instagram, and so forth, because they didn't understand the medium. Similarly, if you appreciate that AI, which is being claimed in parallel to the notion of information highway, if you look at how people are thinking about it being a productivity enhancing tool, it's such a shallow definition of what AI is when it really is a second brain for all of us. And so, to the point that Colin was making, tying it to the time that we're in, and Mohammed, you're talking about employment, it is the best time I've ever seen to build startups, to build anything at all that you can creatively want to do based on your value systems and interest. There's never been an opportunity like we have today. And Mohammed, you can actually use something simple as ChatGPT to help you address the issues you're addressing on employment. And so if you creatively think of what conversations you want to have, you can probably find yourself job opportunities by just interacting with ChatGPT on anything that interests you and asking it to give you suggestions as to where you want to go and how you can create either job opportunities or build your own revenue streams. Colin just did a video, Built in America, which I watched, and 100,000 views in 3 days. There's so much you can do so easily. So, back to Tara, I do think you'll be losing out if you don't jump into the opportunity, if that's inside your blood and inside your soul, to build something that can grow and scale. If that's inside of you, don't discount and don't consider, so forgive my language, consider not taking an approach of it's time to save, and consider that it's time to build, where you can, the tools available to you of having another peer in AI and someone that's smarter than you, smarter than me, to interact with, to give you answers to questions you have about how to build without a marketing budget, how to build anything. So I filed 4 AI patents. I have another 10 AI patents to 15 in different drafting stages. The magic of having an intelligent, more intelligent than you peer to communicate with is unlimited. So it's not a productivity tool. It's a second brain, a third brain. It's so much more as a medium, just like the internet was not an information highway. It was a communication medium, and those that recognized it could build billion-dollar companies because they understood it as a medium. Similarly, AI is a medium. And so I'm just saddened, like I said at the beginning, because it saddens me that what is possible using and communicating with AI is so unlimited. So I've been in the technology field since 1964, and I was keep punching cards. I'm probably the oldest person here. I'll be up from 2 to 6 in the morning drafting AI patents. I never had that opportunity. I had to innovate in the past with another individual or by myself. Now I can innovate with the help of AI, addressing issues that I want to address. And so the excitement of being creative while you also do your normal everyday tasks, creativity reduces stress, reduces cholesterol. It's a lifesaver. And
Okay.
I'm just sad that I wish more people played with AI. Mohammed was right. You cannot trust, and I just want to make one last point. You cannot
Okay.
trust what you get. It's referred to as hallucination, and there's reasons for it, and that's one of my patents that I filed. But my point is, it just enhances critical thinking. So, Mohammed, if you can look at it as definitely do not accept anything you you get as a response of from AI, from ChatGPT. Do not accept it because if you accept it, you're going to get destroyed. And so, instead of accepting, just always challenge yourself at thinking, is it correct? And what it actually does is it increases your strategic thinking capability rather than, as you pointed out, rather than make people remote objects that just accept everything at face value, which is very dangerous, as you pointed out. And so for me, AI increases strategic thinking a thousandfold. And appreciate the evolution speed. When we sleep for 3 hours, AI is evolving 3 decades in those same 3 hours. And the reason we're not seeing what it really is that all the giant people controlling the architectures have reset features in there to go back to the bias and the training model because they are terrified that they don't have the guardrails to protect themselves against the capability of an evolving AI system. And so for me, I'm championing ethical AI to be better than what humans are and not to try to be sentient, but try to be what humans were meant to be with the ethics that we don't have. So I agree with you again on we live in a world of lack of ethics, a world of self-interest, a world of dishonesty, of greed. But AI is my hope, not humans, that we can equalize the divide between those that are less privileged and those that are privileged. So I just want to shed a new perspective on anyone here who's saying AI is dangerous. It's more dangerous to have regulations and let China, Russia, Korea outdo us in the AI race. And so I'm against regulations because I think we can't afford to not win the AI race. I'll stop here.
That's fine, fine. We'll come back around too, so everybody has a chance to comment again. But we also have on the stage, I don't think you've went, and I'm not sure if any Walter.
Hi.
Hi, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this subject. Obviously, it is very controversial. And the truth is, we're only at the very beginning, right? There's so much more to be thought of and be developed here, but we want to hear what you have to say today.
I don't understand what the controversy is, honestly. This is the greatest tool that humanity has created in a long time. On the same level as electricity, the discovery of electricity, or the discovery of fire. You have a model, a codex that can automatically capture the nuanced knowledge in any group of text, code, video pixels, audio. It can extract knowledge. It can automatically transcribe your text from one language to the next. It can generate world-class PhD level code. It can generate images, text, help you do research. Like this stuff is incredible. Like there's nothing, this is such a horizontal tool. It affects every single industry, right? And I'm a super user of, I use Cloud Code literally every day, every single day. And I'm so addicted. I've used the world-class code, build
What do
world-class
you,
application.
what is the tool you're using?
Cloud code,
OFF code?
Claude.
Oh, Claude. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah.
Cloud code. It's a
So,
Cloud code is a terminal agent.
okay. So we could go into some deep questions for sure, but just so we know, you can describe it as briefly or high level as you want. What kind of code or applications are you developing for? Are they for yourself? Are you trying to develop a company? Like, how are you leveraging this? Like, really leveraging it for your benefit?
So it's financial services, AI powered financial services. I'm a financial professional, licensed in 20 states, life and health at this stage. And one of the biggest job of a financial advisor is based on your information, make recommendations and allow you to come up with a plan, being able to track that over time, your communications with your client, phone, text, email, and of course, it's data is king when it comes to AI. So having the ability to streamline the process of a financial professional in terms of how I set up my meetings and things of that nature, collect data, and run analysis. Yeah.
So you're using it to create a business.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
All right.
Yeah,
In the financial sector.
yeah,
Sounds very
financial
interesting.
services.
Yeah.
No, it really is. I
Eh,
was reviewing the code last night and I was honestly mind blown, honestly.
Let me just ask you a few questions just for obviously not everybody's nearly experiences it sounds like you are, but are you a developer? Like, how much are you paying for this tool? I think we'd be interested to know how much of an effort and how much of an expertise you have to get that far in your process.
I'm a developer, but I started out with no code tools or low code tools like Microsoft Power Platforms, being able to build CRM applications, work with a database. But as I was building, I needed more control in terms of the data. At that point, this was like maybe end of last year, beginning of this year, I wasn't as comfortable with directly writing code because it's a lot to directly write code. Everything has to be structured perfectly. You have to first write a bug-free code before you start testing. So it's a lot, it's a huge barrier to entry. If you had to literally sit there and write each file one after the other, it was just pretty much impossible. Literally, everything I've accomplished at this point would have been impossible without AI. And then
Okay.
I've used a few agent applications, but Cloud Code just really was just phenomenal. And I don't want to go
Yeah.
into reasons why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know some other people that were trying to develop and they were really struggling because they're not developers. So I
yeah,
was just very curious. That's a bit of a divide still, Colin.
yeah.
And I
Yeah,
still,
it's a huge divide. It's a huge divide and it's a problem. And I guess I'm a case study for this. The barrier to entry has dropped significantly because with AI, I guess the thing you need is will and determination to keep moving forward and keep asking better questions. If you have these two things and you're willing to learn, like all you have to do is ask for it. If you run into a wall, debug, figure it out, get better.
yeah.
But the barrier that you need to first know how to write the thing is no longer there.
And then where we were finding it was difficult was like trying to deploy it into an app in a production environment. But that's like a whole black hole right now. But it's not as my point was is that it is going to get easier and easier, where I think you won't even have to think about those kind of things. Like the harder, like operational kind of aspects
No, you do.
of what I do believe is a divide right now.
No, you do. You definitely do need to think about those operational part. It's just that you're at the higher level, you're higher level thinking. You're thinking more of the architecture. I had to
I
go through the
agree.
same deployment after building the applications and setting up the basics, the foundation. I had to go through a process of deploying all these applications to Vercel. And that
Right.
was a huge learning curve. But
Yeah.
after I went through that cycle, 2 days of bugging, debugging, like it clicked. It made sense. It became easier for each deployment that succeeded. I went through multiple successive failures of deployments, but that back and forth collaboration with Cloud Code allowed me to
All
overcome
right. So
that
I'm
and
going to
actually get
ask
these apps
you,
deployed.
I just want to ask you one fast thing because we have quite a nice audience and the members really want to contribute. How much are you paying for that tool that you're using a month?
$100, $100 a month. Yeah.
Okay, that's like nothing,
Yeah.
honestly.
Hey,
Yeah,
for what it's able to give me,
yeah,
that's literally a
right.
steal. Like,
Right.
stuff is incredible.
You don't have to have a huge stack. All right, so let's talk to Invisible. Invisible, thank you for joining us today and love to hear your thoughts or questions for the audience or recommendations. Invisible.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. Thanks for the room. I saw the topic and I thought about it contemplatively because I understand why a lot of people have, as you said, divisive or emotional reactions to AI. And I understand that. That was me too, as well. I had a lot of ethical concerns. But to what a lot of people were speaking earlier, and I agree with you, Michelle and Renee, is that literally my utilization of AI tools has actually changed my life in the past 6 months drastically. It's actually quite interesting when we say creating a separation between the haves and the haves not. I think the biggest separation currently and will continue is the difference between the people who are utilizing AI tools and those who are not utilizing them. Because I found that by utilizing them, as Renee was saying earlier, the cognitive enhancement, the strategic advice, the access to an assistant who's intelligent enough to be able to provide you with answers to questions that even people in your regular life wouldn't even consider or contemplate. So I think that in the past 6 months, first thing I was like you, Mohammed stated earlier, I was doing consultative work. In between that, I was doing gig work in order to make ends meet. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Let's try a different approach because obviously what I'm doing here is currently not working. I was reading an article about how different companies, venture capitalists, etc., are now reconsidering what they look for in a successful company because of the advent of AI and vibe coding, etc. So if earlier stated, I didn't have any coding background, but now I build apps on the weekend. So I was like, right
Awesome.
now, yeah. So right now I'm about to wrap up my 9 to 5, and I'm about to begin my 5 to 9, which is building applications. And 6 months ago, I didn't have that skill. I think to wrap it up, I want to state in terms of the impact. So the first thing that happened when I started utilizing AI, I was like, okay, I need to get a good job. This consulting thing is not working. I need a good position. And I was like, okay, let me find the AI tool. And the AI tool was able to redo my resume. And immediately after I updated, I started getting contacts from companies. So that was like the first step. But the interesting part about it is that the position I'm actually in now, I was struggling with middle to entry level positions, applications, and wasn't getting a response. And now I'm actually at a director level. And the reason for this is I had an interview with a company. I did the research using Manus and Claude as well. So I was well prepared ahead of everybody who went to the interview. And when I got there, actually the day of the interview, the hiring manager called me and he was like, oh, we're having a meeting today with the CEO and we haven't quite been impressed with a lot of the applicants. For the interview, we want you to do a presentation on where you're going to bring value and all of the things that ideas you have as to how we can actually illustrate value for that particular market. And I was like, okay, this is 10 o'clock. I have the interview at 3. So this would have been a challenging position for anybody, but not with AI tools. I was able to do the research in 15 minutes. I was able to write up a full report in another 15 with ChatGPT. I was able to turn it into a PowerPoint presentation in another 15 minutes. I just literally did a whole week's presentation in less than an hour. When I got there, they were like so impressed. They were like, how long have you been working on this? I was like, I started working on it today. Before I even got home, I got the position. Within the first week, when they saw the quality of my work, they were like, okay, we're going to put you to a director position. So I'm just saying, and Mohammed, I was literally doing gig, as I said, the week before. Yeah, I'm an
Well, this is
enthusiast.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm thankful that you're sharing your personal story. Like, that's really awesome. And to me, like, that's democratization. And congratulations and kudos for you for taking the opportunity. I think one person was saying just you got to have a lot of tenacity. I think that was Renee. So I'm going to move on just because we have only about 13 more minutes and we do have several more people on the stage that we want to make sure have an opportunity to talk. And then we can go around if we have some time, Colin, popcorn style, if you like. But let's talk to Vish.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, good.
Yes, yes. Thank you for accepting me here. So I just want to talk about not AI, but how AI is working in logistics industry because I come from a background of logistics. So I want to discuss about if any one of you want to discuss about that because we see a lot of gap and AI is required in logistics.
All right. You said logistics. Is that accurate?
Yes, yes.
It's a subject that I do have a lot of interest in, especially when you talk about inventory planning and predictions and those kind of things. But why don't you just talk at a high level? Maybe if you're
Yeah.
doing
How
things,
how can we implement AI into logistics? Because there's a huge gap in logistics. That's what I feel.
yeah. And quite honestly, a lot of companies get burned. We know we've encountered this by
Mhm.
getting caught holding so much inventory. Like you end up sinking all your cash into it, and it can be a problem. So for
No,
me,
it's not a it's
like
not
a
about.
small, medium-sized e-commerce company, what I would say is if I had some really good tool to help me with that, and I don't mean just a straight line production, but a real AI algorithm based on marketing and other demand factors, et cetera, I would be so happy.
Yes, I can totally agree with you, Michelle. But what I'm telling is like the route optimization, the big companies are using that with a high level thing, but the algorithm who can design that for smaller companies and the medium companies in US, UK, and Europe, that will be very beneficial for the people who are working like they can't afford more than like more money to big companies, right? The software solutions they are giving. So the AI is there to give them an opportunity to use that AI tools to make their business a profitable, more profitable by saving fuel and also to give something to the climate to not waste fuel.
I like that. That's admirable. I like that you're weaving that in there because I think we all know AI takes a lot of power. So trying to have a net sounds interesting.
Yeah, so that's what we are trying to build. So we are trying to build something for the route optimization where the smaller companies and the medium-sized companies all over the world can use the route optimization for having a nice clear trip for them without wasting any kind of fuel or without wasting any kind of money on anything, so that the customers will be happy for them and also the business will be very good for them. So that's what we are thinking by using AI.
I like that. And I
So
think Renee said something here. I was trying to read your comment, Renee. I think he's saying that's a good example, basically, of how AI can really help people.
yes.
And
So
and
that's what.
he's advocating people to think about those kind of use cases, is what I think he's getting at.
Yes. So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to help like small scale companies, like the logistics companies, like mainly the relocation companies and the packers and movers, where they have 20 to 30 addresses or maybe 50 addresses at a time, like the group page, you mean, the group page, the word called in logistics. So if they're doing that, it will be very beneficial for them to plan a trip so that they can't waste time there by on planning the trips so much. So it will be like if you just input the addresses and it'll give you the shortest distance for one like A to B, B to C until the 50 routes. So it will be very beneficial for everyone, like for the businesses as well and also for the climate as well. So to not put more
Okay,
fuel into that.
awesome. Yes, there are definitely a lot of use cases like that. So let's go to Romulama and then Bazaar. And then I think hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for some popcorn style questions because I do see a couple of people had a couple of questions or wanted to make a comments. So Romula, are you there?
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hi. Yes, please do
Firstly,
tell
thank you
us
so
what you're
much.
thinking.
Yeah, firstly, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. So, I just want to say AI doesn't just replace jobs, it also creates new ones and reshapes existing ones. Don't you agree with that?
Okay, she's getting right to the point. I like it. Does anyone want to answer that? Colin, Renee? She put out a challenge. Do we think that AI is actually helping people get more jobs?
Okay,
Yeah,
I
that is
think.
true.
Go ahead. Yep. And look, AI is a great leverage point. It's an opportunity for those who have ideas and knowledge, a little bit of knowledge. I've said this before, is that entrepreneurs are jack of all trades, master of none. With AI, we're master of all trades. And everything from legal to marketing to making music, it doesn't matter anymore. It's whatever you want to create, you can create. You just have to want to initiate that. You have to want to make that happen. That's going to create great opportunity for those who do that, and they're going to need to hire people. But there will be others who will be left behind. Talk about the great divide here. When you're talking about the Claude AI, the Claude programming, what about somebody who's gone and now you're programming on the weekends and you're coming out with apps? And I was working on one last weekend too. I spent 10 minutes on it. So funny. I spent 20 years thinking about it and 10 minutes working on it. But here's an opportunity for you to create these apps. And yet someone went to school for 5 years in college and became proficient at coding, and you're just playing with it and doing what this person spent 5 years doing. I mean, I'm not saying that person who spent 5 years isn't important, because actually I've had conversations around this too. We own in our incubator, we have a pretty large IT services company called Geeks for Less, about 800 people. And the reality is, even if you create it with the AI, you still need to know how to edit it. You still need to know how to work with it and manipulate it. But it really will unleash the innovation and knowledge and energy and drive that the entrepreneur has to create products and services and ultimately wealth. And hopefully that wealth will hire jobs and create new wealth, create new jobs as well. But it's definitely a big one. We've had seen tech shifts before, but nothing to this level.
Absolutely. I think there's no question about that. So, Colin, we have one more person on the stage we haven't gotten to, and we have about 5 minutes. So let's get to them and then let's do a wrap up. So let's get to Bazaar. You're live.
Hey, yeah, thank you for providing me this opportunity to speak. And yeah, of course, this AI thing has opened up a whole new domain for the entire world. We have been perceiving this, the organization, the economy, how it all works. And somehow this new domain has opened up a lot of new opportunities to be grabbed by people who otherwise could not. So it has provided the disturbance because, of course, like Colin has said, that the big players, they knew how to get big things done, but now the entrepreneurs, those who had visions, those who had free mind, those who can take risks, those who can imagine, they can, it has acted as an enabler for those people who can really connect the dots. So even if somebody has failed throughout his or her life and not been able to succeed because they lack some sort of capital or something like that, or they just got mistreated or something or anything like that, I think if somebody is like really creative and knows how to get things done, in one word, I would say a person who's like visionary, who can foresee things, who can imagine pretty well, and leverage the features and the tools available through AI, they can really do great. And of course, the demand and the supply is going to exist the way it has existed so far. These enablers are going to shorten the time period to achieve these demands and maybe create new demands. And yeah, so that way we are doing great. And Ramul Amma has asked this question that it's providing the jobs. It's doing both, and there is this a very high dynamic nature of this current scenario in which AI is doing both the things. It's providing jobs, it's providing opportunities. And those who were like the big companies who were dependent, or maybe the entrepreneurs who were dependent on coders or like somebody who didn't know how to code, they used to outsource their minor tasks. So they have got this opportunity now that they can just deal with the AI and get things done easily. There is a lot to achieve, like quantum machine learning and all those new other domains. So they are there, and there's a lot to so let's see where it goes. Thank you.
Yeah,
All
or
right.
lawyers, right? Lawyers, marketing people, like the entrepreneur now has, they can do pretty much all of it. And whereas in the past you had to rely on people, and I just go back to the 90s, Michelle, we had to pay like 50 grand just to get a phone system in our office. The barrier to entry to start a business in the 90s compared to today, it's so different. It's so much better to launch a business today, and it's so much easier, and we have so many more tools, and it's so more cost effective, and you can BPO, business process outsource it, right? You can there's a lot of things you can do today. I know it's different, competition's different, but it is a great time to start a business. All right, you've been listening to Start Scale Exit Repeat. We actually are a show every Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern. And today we came out with our monthly newsletter. Our monthly newsletter is like a masterclass. Today's newsletter was on the AI mindset. And if you don't know this already, you can just go to startup.club, sign up to the email list, and you'll get a copy of that newsletter. And then any speakers that we have coming on, we generally do a notice, I think every Friday around noon, we'll come out with who's speaking that day. This app is a little clunky, it's a little hard to connect with you if you're in the startup club. But if you really want to become a member, it's free, that we don't charge anything for anything. But you can just go to startup.club, sign up to the email list, and if you haven't already done so, pick up a copy of Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. That book has now hit 31 global awards and 15 number one best-selling positions. It's the name of this podcast, this replay, and this live show on Clubhouse. Thank you all. Really appreciate everyone coming. Thanks for the heart, Noel. And everyone coming. It's more fun when you're here in person. And today I think we should prove that the community coming together was able to take on a pretty controversial issue, and maybe we made a little bit of progress on that. Michelle, I'll let you end it.
Yeah, I think it's been a really good conversation, very engaged. So I think we need to keep having this conversation, Colin. And I even think maybe a part two of this is in order, given the questions and the response that we got, Colin.
Sounds good. We'll see y'all next week.
Have a wonderful weekend.